I'm going to take you through everything you need to know to not only get your bird of paradise to thrive, but to flower, grow seeds, and start new plants. This is a highlight plant and the bird of paradise needs a lot of it. For at least 12 to 16 hours a day, your plant should be getting between 400 and 4,000 foot candles of light. You can purchase a light meter or download a free but probably less accurate app on your phone. And my plant right against the window at sunrise gets around 2,000 foot candles all the way to just past high noon at 900 foot candles. And finally, when the sun is on the other side of my building, it's around 500 foot candles until sundown. I know your plant probably looks great sitting in that corner right next to your window, but now you're getting 30 foot candles, and that's barely enough to keep this plant alive. So measure your light. My bird of paradise was a gift from my dad, and he got unreasonably jealous when I got mine to flower before his did. I went over to his place to not only separate his plants, but give him some grow lights to help him get into that 800 foot candle range. And guess what? Yeah, I'm taking the credit for getting his plant to flower. Yes, he's still jealous, but this is a reminder that light is food for the plant. More food over time, more growth. Simple. Once you have your light in the right range for flowering, your soil is actually just a small piece of what you need to be successful with this plant. My dad is pretty insistent on using 50% Miracle-Gro cactus soil and 50% Miracle-Gro indoor potting soil. And I prefer to use any soil mix with added perlite and orchid bark for more drainage. As long as you're monitoring your moisture levels and allowing your plant to dry out around 80 to 90% before your next watering, it doesn't really matter what you use, within reason of course. Fertilizing your plant is a must. I use pretty generic slow release granules in the spring and summer. These plants flower in the fall, so around late August to early September is when you should switch to a fertilizer that's more tailored to flowering. After a few seasons of great light and great care, your bird of paradise should start to flower. And that's when you can manually pollinate the flowers. Cut off a slit off a straw to collect the pollen from the stamen of the plant. That's this purple part. Sometimes you might have to spread it open in order to collect enough of it. Get consent from someone else who has a bird of paradise that's flowering at the same time as you. Tell them you want to pollinate with them. You cannot self-pollinate, and I've heard stories of people trying that before. They're all in jail now. Once you collect enough pollen, you're going to rub it all over the stigma. This is the receptive tip of the flower. You may have to do a lot of rubbing. It really depends on the plant. And like a miracle, you'll notice the flowers eventually start to die back and a seed pod starts forming. Your bundle of joy. The seed pod will continue to grow throughout the winter and parts of the spring. My dad's seed pod opened after he took the plant outdoors. And since he's been growing seeds for decades, he just instructed me to just cut mine off and open it up. It was probably ready. Just take off these little orange fuzzies and let the seeds soak for a few days. You don't have to do this, but 24 to 72 hours seems to be the most common recommendations. He has his seed tray with his potting soil mix, and I'm going with a Tupperware container and experimenting with a mix of sphagnum moss and tree fern fiber, as well as doing some soil. I also microwaved my soil beforehand just to get rid of any bacteria that can be harmful to new seedlings. Having seeds under high light and temperature is a must, so I'm really glad that longtime channel sponsor Soltech has finally come out with their Grove LED bar light. It's a perfect fit to go under shelves or mounted to walls so that you can maximize your light without compromising the beauty of your home. It's touch activated, 2 taps for power, and a tap and hold to dim. So you can get exactly the right amount of light that you need. And wow, we did it again. Surprise, surprise. Look who's jealous. How many sprouts to your one, Dad? With heat, humidity, and my new grow light, this is the perfect environment to get the seeds to sprout as fast as possible. Get 15% off the new Grove LED bar light when you use the code KTP at checkout. Thanks again, Soltech, for sponsoring this video. With grow lights on from anywhere between 12 to 18 hours a day and the medium kept moist, your seeds should sprout in a few weeks. Once your new seedlings have reached around 3 inches in height, they are ready to be removed and placed into their more permanent home. I removed the seeds from my moss medium and washed off the roots free from any moss. I recommend a soil that retains more water when compared to a larger plant, so potting soil with added perlite is a good enough choice. Planting 2 to 3 seedlings together is usually the most common way to buy birds of paradise plants, And when they're fully mature, the plants generally look better this way in a more balanced and well filled out pot. You absolutely cannot just put these seedlings back into the same lighting that your mature bird of paradise is getting. With smaller plants, they're only able to handle smaller quantities of light and can be extremely sensitive to burning if the light increases too much too quickly. So use your light meter and aim for the low end of 400 to 1000 foot candles of light and slowly increase exposure as the plants grow and mature. Repeat this process for the best bird of paradise every time. Share your seedlings with friends, and I'll see you next time. So what did you think?
Are you trying to make me jealous?